Hello and welcome. This is To The Point editorial discussion by Neva AS. In this video, we are going to discuss all the exam relevant articles from the Hindu on June 10, 2024. So we'll discuss three articles in total today. The first article is from the science page of Hindu. It deals with the idea of magnetic resonance imaging, which is MRI scans. Then we'll discuss an idea from the science and technology, the space technology to be precise, which is on the hydrogen line. And finally, we'll discuss an article from the GS2 paper, Polity, on elections. To be specific, it is on the proportional representation system. We'll also discuss the first past the post system while we discuss that article. So these are the three articles from Hindu today. Let's move to the first article. Magnetic resonance imaging. So MRI is a very common term that we hear in our medical terminologies. So this is one topic that is important for us from the perspective of prelims because it has a scientific process that takes place behind this meditech. From the mains perspective, it is not that much relevant, but it's important to understand how this affects the medical sector as a whole. First, let us see what is the technology. Magnetic resonance imaging. So how exactly do you get the image of your body using this particular machine? So what it does is it uses magnetic fields and radio waves to obtain images of the internal organs. So to be precise, what it does is it creates a magnetic field around your body, and with that magnetic field the atoms in your body will be aligning in a particular sequence because your body's atoms also has some amount of charge. It has blood, it has moving ions, so some amount of charge is there in the body itself, so it will react to the magnetic field and atoms in the body will be aligned in a particular way. This alignment can be broken or disturbed using radio waves. Then once the radio wave is switched off, the alignment will be back in nature. And this discrepancy can be used to image the organs. So on a whole, you have to understand that both magnetic wave and radio wave are used for MRI scans, and the magnetic field in the body will align the atoms in a particular sequence. These are the key major takeaways from the concept. Now, the magnetic strength, the strength of the magnetic field is around 1.5 Tesla to 3 Tesla. Here we have to understand that Tesla is the unit of measurement of the magnetic field strength. So in the magnetic field, in an MRI machine, the strength of the magnetic field is 1.5 Tesla to 3 Tesla. And you have to understand that this is 4 to 8 times stronger than the magnetic field around a sunspot. So if a statement like that comes for a prelims question, we can often get it wrong because we'll always think that the magnetic field around the sunspot will be larger. But when it comes to the magnetic field used in the MRI scans, it is 4 to 8 times stronger than the sun's magnetic field. Now here is where the key to the expense of this technology lies. It's a very expensive technology, and the reason for that is the strength of this magnetic field. Due to such strong magnetic field, it needs a strong shielding room. It also needs liquid helium to cool the magnet. And then to power such a strong machine, you need a lot of power. Due to these three factors, MRI scans or the MRI machine is very expensive. UPSC has often asked questions about various technologies, whether it is cheap technology or it is a expensive technology, because it is part of our daily application in medicine field. So you have to understand that it is expensive and the reason for its expense. And now the Hong Kong University has come up with a new invention. And in this invention, they use a low power magnet compared to the 1.5T to 3T magnet. So when the low power magnet is used, you don't need such a strong shielding room. You don't need that much amount of liquid helium. Neither do you need that much power to operate. So naturally the cost will be low. One other effect of this MRI scan is that MRI scanning machine is that since the magnetic field is so strong, it will attract objects like oxygen cylinders towards that. Even though it is not very common, it do happen. There has been reports of such incidents that injures the patient as well as the doctor. So when the magnetic field is not that strong, this issue can also be avoided. So thinking about the application part of the MRI machines, it is possible to develop a machine with low magnetic field, and it is possible to develop a machine with less cost as well. So I hope you have understood the technology, the process behind it, and the applications part of it as well. Now let's move to the next topic, which is hydrogen line. So this particular article is relevant for us from the perspective of prelims again, because it deals with a process, a cosmic process. Before entering into the process, let's understand it step by step. First, let's talk about the element of hydrogen. Hydrogen is the first element in the periodic table. It has an atomic number 1. The reason why we say something has an atomic number of X and Y is because it has that number of protons in it. So hydrogen is the first element, so it has 1 proton in it. And it will have equal number of electrons, 1 proton and 1 electron. So hydrogen, you should understand, is a very simple element. And it is the it is the first element that was formed after Big Bang. Then hydrogen atoms combine to form molecular hydrogen. This molecular hydrogen will combine to form clouds and other gases. So it is a basic building block. Now, let's talk about the feature of this proton and electron. One important feature that these particular elements within an atom exhibits is their ability to spin. Okay. Now when these particles, proton and electron, spin, they either point towards the upwards or downwards. So the spin can be pointing either towards up or towards down. And the pattern of the spinning, when these proton and electron spins, either both of them can spin in the same direction or both of them can spin in the opposite direction. When they spin in the same direction, we call them aligned, and when they spin in the opposite direction, we call them anti-aligned. To recollect all of this, first let's take an atom of hydrogen which has 1 proton and 1 electron. These protons and electrons will have a property called spinning. When they spin, they either spin upwards or downwards. When both of them spin to the same direction, we call them aligned. When both of them spin to the opposite direction, we call them anti-aligned. Now, in this anti-aligned process, more energy is released than the aligned process, because when an electron flips its spin, the entire atom releases excess energy. Now, this is the core of the idea of hydrogen line, because when this excess energy is released, it is released in the form of an electromagnetic radiation which has a wavelength of 21 centimeter. So electromagnetic radiation, it's a broad spectrum. It has many subsections within, like visible radiation, infrared radiation. So it releases an electromagnetic radiation which has a wavelength of 21 centimeter. And this particular emission pattern can be recorded because it is in a kind of a sequence. And this sequence is called the hydrogen line. So you should understand that this particular line or this particular sequence has been invented in 1951, and it has been a cornerstone since then. It helped us to map the atomic hydrogen, the molecular hydrogen, and it helped us to map the entire Milky Way based on the molecular hydrogen that we were mapping. And now studies say that the hydrogen line can be used for extraterrestrial communication. We still don't know whether we have extraterrestrial beings out there, but we can send information out into the space expecting that there will be a receiver. So this is a core concept when it comes to the that part of the physics, especially particle physics, which deals with the wave nature of the particles and with related to astrophysics as well. So let's understand the process clearly, this process of hydrogen spin, the nature of hydrogen, the nature of spin, and the applications of it. I hope the takeaways are clear with you. Let's move to the next article. The next article is from the polity part. It is a very relevant topic because elections happen just now and a possible mains question can be expected in these lines. And the idea of a proportional representation is important for you from the prelims perspective as well. Before going into proportional representation system, let's see what the current system is like, which is the first past the post system. First past the post means whoever gets the highest vote wins. Suppose there are three candidates, everybody gets 30 30 30 votes each. There are 100 votes in total, and if one person gets 31, then that person is the winner. Even if the opposition gets 69, it doesn't have any value in the system. That one person will win. It's a winner take it all model, the first past the post system. The reason why we have adopted it is because it is very simple. In such a large democracy like India, it is very simple and it gives stability to the government. I'll explain how this stability part becomes important in the coming sessions. It gives stability and it is simple. That is the two major pillars of this. It is followed in countries like US, UK and Canada. The problem with this is it can either cause over-representation or under-representation. One classic example from this particular election is that the Biju Janata Dal party in Odisha, they have secured 42% vote share. 42% is a very high number because the ruling party, the NDA, they don't even have 37% vote share. So 42% vote share was there for this particular party in Odisha, but they have secured 0 seats, no representation at all in the parliament. Or if you take the Congress ministries in the first 3 Lok Sabhas, they have secured 75% of the seats with just 43 to 45% vote share. So there is always an issue of over-representation and under-representation in the first past the post system. So why not consider the PR system? That's what the article talks about. But it has its own problems. Because PR system is based on representation based on vote share. So here we saw this party got 42% vote share. The other party might have got 44 or 45% vote share. So what PR system does is to split the seats based on the vote share. And here there is a problem of stability because no party is going to get the majority. Suppose we are talking about two parties. One is 42%, one is 58%. What if there are 10 parties who are getting small shares? How do we form a government? So their stability becomes an important problem and it becomes a little more complicated as well. So simple and stability, the exact opposite happens in the PR system. And within the PR system, we have to understand that it has several other systems. And the most common among that is the party list system. In this system, it is the party that contests and not the individuals. So when a party contests, people can choose the party which they want to vote based on a preferential system, a list system. And the party which has the highest number of vote share will get that much amount of seats and then they can allot the candidates to particular seats. But as I said, it will lead to unstable governments and it can also lead to proliferation of parties. Because every caste group or every religious group or any group that has a particular identity or anything to represent, and suppose they have a vote share of 5% or 6%, they can form their own party and they'll get that much vote share. So it can be a challenge for ideas like regional integration. That is why we have adopted this first past the post system in the first place. But does the first past the post system prevent these issues from happening? Do you think that caste-based politics or religion-based politics is not happening in the country with this? So any which way it is happening. So the proportional representation system with minor modifications can curtail the issue, says the author. It is followed in countries like Argentina and Brazil, which has a presidential system of government, and South Africa, Belgium and Spain, which has a parliamentary form of government. So both type of polities adopt this system. And the best system for a country like India is the system followed by Germany. It is called the mixed member proportional system. In fact, the 170th Law Commission in 1999 proposed this system to have an experimental introduction in India. This is a system where 50% of the seats will be going through FPTP system and 50% through a PR system. Suppose we have 545 seats, the 272 or 273 goes for the FPTP and rest 50% goes to PR. In that way, every party will get their due representation and we can address the issue of stability as well. This will also address the concern of small states post delimitation, because we are talking about delimitation these days. And when we talk about delimitation based on the latest census, the states with higher population will always benefit that, and the states that have done well to curtail their population will have a demerit because of that. But that can be curtailed when we come up with a system like this. So this gives important perspectives into the way elections are conducted in India. It gives clarity on the different systems as well. I hope the takeaways are clear for you. Thank you for listening.